Roll your chair back on. Hello. Alright, y'all. We're back for part 2 of this Ridetech suspension install. Thought we cleaned up better than that. Showed you the front in the last video. It went pretty slick. The rear's not going to go quite as fast because somebody has built a notch that I got to cut out. And it looks kind of like my notches I built, except they didn't do it. Yeah, okay. I'll show you in a minute.
Imitated. It was not duplicated.
Yeah, I'll show you in a minute. But this thing's got the parallel 4-link with a panhard bar and coilovers on the outside of the frame. And hopefully a new tire, so he'll have 4 matching wheels on it at least. I think, like I said, on the front, we're going to drop down to a 275/35 tire. And then we may keep the 45s in the rear to give it a little staggered look, or he may put all 4 so he can rotate the tires. I don't know. But we're going to get this thing jacked up, tear all the suspension out from under it, get the rear end on jack stands, and start hanging parts. First things first, I got to get the notch plates in. So I've got to get all this cut out. They sent a very nice template to tape to the frame and shows you where to mark. But I don't know where it's going to line up at just yet compared to the notch that's already in it. So we're about to find out. Hey, look, Dawson's here. He had to come get his transmission for his Toyota that I picked up at the junkyard.
Everybody cross your fingers.
Maybe. Since it tore up at Mini Nats in April, and it is now October, he may get it fixed. Actually, we pulled it out like 3 times since Mini Nats, but
hopefully I'm going to drive it this weekend.
Yeah. He just bought a junkyard one for like $400.
Yeah.
It's worth the chance.
It has less miles on it than my truck has it, so we're good.
And if you've ever tried to find a 2-wheel drive Toyota transmission, you know
with that.
That's why it's been since April, because they're not out there hardly.
They really aren't.
There's somebody watching this who's got 6 of them in their backyard right now.
Most likely, we're like, man, you should have let me know.
All right, we're gonna get this thing tore apart. 13 minutes later.
The easiest truck to take apart ever.
Literally, leaf springs off, shocks are off. I did have to loosen the gas tank to get the front bolt out. I cut the bolt off flush with the frame, the hanger, and then loosen the gas tank a little bit, and you can knock it on out. Normally, when we do a lot of flip kits, we don't take those out. We just, I've showed you the little trick we do before to move the leaf spring around the rear end. But yeah, because they put the bolts in backwards on the rear shackle so that we didn't have to take the hitch off. Even though he'll probably never use the hitch ever again. No. Let me turn this around here, show y'all this glory. I use 2x2 here and a welder.
That is not 2x2.
And anyway, they play the top of the frame here. This is the way I do them, except executed a little better, in my opinion. In my humble opinion. It may, y'all may be like, oh, that looks better than yours.
Yours is more centered.
Yeah, so
more to
but if you would look right here, I have done a whole lot of these, and I've never had one crack right there. So this frame is broken in half.
Is it really?
You didn't notice that?
No, this one.
Ooh. And this is why we use 2x2, and we weld it really good. I don't know what all this is, but it's not real good. So, in addition to cutting this off and figuring out where the notch plate's going to go, I got to fix that. So I'm going to have to weld that up. This is also, looks like it's broke loose right here. Is that side broke? No, it's good? Okay. All right. We're going to get started, as bad as I hate to.
That's horrible.
It's almost like it never happened.
Close.
I believe we could have got it off without cutting it, but took him 2 whacks. His old weak ass. All right, so just knock the weld down. And we'll get this template over here and see where we're actually going to have to cut for the notch, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do to address this situation right here.
What you doing?
All right, so they send us a template. You get one for each side. This is the passenger side. It comes in a big piece of paper. You have to cut it out. I took it in there and KK cut it out for me because she told me I was not allowed to touch her white scissors. So we're going to put this up for safekeeping till tomorrow. But there's holes in the frame that these line up to. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this out so I can kind of see where it's going to be. And it says on 99 and 2000s there's an extra like little rib in the frame that the 2001 and ups don't have. If your truck has that, you have to go in and cut this out to cut it, completely remove it. But this truck doesn't have that, so I'm going to cut it here. So give me just a second. We'll get this butchered out here. Very quick.
One eternity later.
But I really want to figure this out tonight, because if I don't, I'm going to sit at work all day tomorrow thinking about what I'm going to have to do. So I would like to have a game plan. I'm not real crazy about it already having a notch in it, but it is what it is.
Where'd you get that?
The hurricane blew it down.
Blew it in your yard?
No, it wasn't in my yard, but I found it in the ditch where we're working. We're right on the county line. And they've already put a new one up, so.
Score!
Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, I know that's going to be bad because I can't even see that hole. Oh, hold on. The direction said I got to remove that.
Okay, game on.
All right, we're going to line that up with that hole. It's pretty close, but not quite. Oh, this is going to suck.
Kind of close, but kind of not so much.
So if I bring this out to here, that'll eliminate this corner. And then that's almost where I need to cut at an angle down. Not quite. I hate you, whoever did this notch.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how happy he is about this notch being there? It's like a 13.
Even though if I would have put a notch in, it would be in the on the exact same spot, and I would have had to cut my own notch out, but still. What if we just make it bigger?
Let's take a look at the notches.
Yeah, let me go look at the notches.
It's so big.
I don't really see. It's freaking huge, ain't it? That's what she said.
Yeah, that's what she said.
I've never heard that in my life.
Me either.
That is a lot of holes to drill. And I'm gonna be honest. When it comes to drilling holes for a notch, I usually just weld them on.
Weld it.
I gotta bolt this one now. So. Oh, this might be a job for tomorrow.
Yeah, most likely.
Regardless of whatever I do. All right, so it's the next night. I showed y'all the notch last night. I've been out here working on it, trying to figure out what's gonna be the best way to do it. And I'll turn this around and show you what I ended up with. It ain't beautiful, but it's pretty close. Okay, it's not even close to beautiful, but whatever. All right, so I got this piece cut out, and then I came in, I cut the template. So the 99 and 2000, like I told you, has got that extra rib in the frame. So I just cut the, marked the template for that, and that got rid of all that notch part there. And then I had to come in and slope this some more, and I cut the rest of the old notch out. So it's completely gone, everything. And this plate fits really good. But before I put it in, I've got to weld this crack up, top and bottom, if I can. And I already V'd it out. So I'm going to lay a weld in there, barely knock it down just enough to get that plate on. And then we have a bunch of holes to drill. I think there's 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 is what I just counted. Yeah. So I got 11 holes on the front to grind. But if you're doing this and the directions aren't real clear to you, there's a couple things you need to do before you get to this point. The thing you need to do is disassemble the suspension, obviously. And then you have to take these two bolts out here for the e-brake holders. Get those out of the way, and then obviously if you're starting with a truck without a notch or a bolt-in notch, yours will be a little easier to do. But I've got to do this step. But if you don't have to do the step, you just take that template, showed you, line it up with the 2 holes here, tape it up there, mark it out, and cut it, and you'll be ready for the next step. And I brought in an extra light, trying to make it easier for y'all to see, because the last video where I done the front suspension, you can't hardly see up in there. So I'm trying to do a little better on the visual part of it. But I'm gonna get this welded up, ground down. I'll get the notch back in, and I'll show you then. All right, so I got the notch in. I had to come in and do a little grinding on this piece of pipe here to get it to lay down flat. The directions say the front of this plate to the front of that hole needs to be 4.5 inches, which is dead on the money for us. It took a little bit of finagling with it to get it there. So down here I had to go in and grind that back a little bit, and this side's a little bit open. I'm probably going to go in and just stitch this on both sides, and I may put some weld around the edge. I don't know yet. It's got a bunch of bolts to hold it together, but also, you know, we had a little bit more of the frame cut out up here than what most people would have, so any little bit can't hurt. But I don't know. We'll check it out and see. But fix to start drilling a bunch of holes, and be back in a few minutes, and it'll probably be tomorrow by the time I get done drilling all them holes, but we're gonna try. So I showed you I had this at 4.5 a while ago, but I noticed that my e-brake bolt hole wasn't lining up. That's these two right here. And I done some checking, and I had just stuck this up there to the end, and then when I got done, it was like 4 3/4 almost. So I choked it up to 2. Everything ain't working out for me while I'm trying to film. Anyway, I choked it up to 2, and it's at 4.5 now. So I got some clamps on it so it can't move. This is how bad off it was. I drilled the first hole, and then I realized that this didn't line up. So I came back, I drilled this one. I'm about to put this bolt in here and tighten the piss out of it so it can't move anymore, and then drill the rest of the holes. And then once you get them drilled, you have to pull it back out, because there's a plate that goes inside the frame here, because you can't get in there to put the bolts. So I got to drill all this. I'm going to pull this off. I'll paint everything black, because there's a bunch of bare metal stuff under there. And then start fishing that plate in and trying to get all these bolts started. So give me a little while. Like I say, probably be tomorrow by the time I get all these bolts drilled. But yeah, we're gonna keep pounding away on it. Check it out. Chandler stopped by, help me out tonight. I got all the holes drilled. It actually didn't take that long. Spray a little black spray paint on all the bare metal. And next we got these little fancy contraptions here. You have to fish this inside the frame. And it's got this little piece here. That's your handle, so you can move it around. You got to stick that in there. And then we're going to put the notch on. And then we're going to try to get the bolt started in there. So you got a gigantic bag of bolts over there. Because there's a lot of bolts in this notch. I've already drilled 10 holes, and I think I've got half of them drilled. So next we're going to, like I say, try to get all those started. These 2 bolts here have to be button heads. I've got those over there, and that's because if it was a regular bolt head, it would hit the coilover. So we're going to fight with this for a minute. Come back in just a second.
This is attempt number 3 at getting this nut on this bolt. Aw. Attempt number 4.
Just so y'all know out there, I got this already, and then I wanted to show y'all how I got it, and I took it out, and now I can't get it back.
If it wasn't for YouTube, that jump would have done been in there.
Next problem. How do you hold the bottom of the bolt?
That's a very good question.
I really have no idea. They don't send any.
What if you cut a relief hole right there in the side and then hold it with a wrench?
This frame has enough holes in it.
But it's got quite a few.
They got me on this one.
And cut.
Alright, so these 2, they sucked really good. But I took this flexible magnet, fixed it down into the frame.
Dang.
Got the nut started on here, came in from the other side and done this one. And then we took a 16mm wrench that was just long enough to reach in there. Smashed my finger. Thanks, Chandler.
My bad.
Unfortunately, that Milwaukee impact does not know when your finger's there, and it just keeps going. So we got those in. And we got all of them except this one. The brake line bracket bolts to it from the bottom. You have to drill this out to a 7/16, and then goes in there like so.
Beautiful.
Put your nut on your washer. I just lost that washer that fast.
That was quick.
Didn't take long, did it?
Here's one.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, never mind.
I knew I had it. Alright, we're going to tighten that down. And then also the hardware that you took out for the parking brake, you have to fish it back up. It goes right through this hole.
You know that junk's professional when you get to keep the parking brake.
Yeah. That's what I told Chris the other day on that S10. I said, this is the first truck in my entire life, I'm dead serious, that I've ever bagged that still have parking brake. It's usually the first thing we cut off.
Well, Dawson's truck has a parking brake, don't it?
No.
The Tacoma? It does have a parking brake.
Does it?
I'm pretty sure it has a parking
I didn't
brake.
bag it completely.
Yeah, that's true.
I didn't do the rear. Well, we done some of the rear. Look at that. Got a parking brake.
Yeah.
This notch, besides that one I got to tighten, is officially in. And it took... I could have lowered this truck the regular way by now for what it took me to put that notch in. I've been on it all night. Which, I didn't have good real estate to start with. But the crack is fixed. Dude, I'm going to be honest, drilling holes was easy. These 2 bolts right here took twice as long as it did drill all the holes.
What that is, though, that is like a very stout notch there.
Yes.
That junk is like stupid strong.
Yes. I'll be honest, I really wish they would put these coilovers on the inside so you could run like a bigger wheel, but I don't know.
Yeah, you ain't gonna get no deep dish wheels on this thing.
I'm just looking at it like the tire's gonna be about right here.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll figure it out when we get to that point.
That's right.
Now I gotta go to the other side. And it's about 9:30 and that's not happening tonight. Call it quits and get back after it tomorrow.
Other side will go smoother now.
I hope. You gotta put this one back in too. However it went. I don't really remember, to be honest. Like that. Nope, that's backwards.
This should show you how much parking brakes are put back on. Don't you know how they go?
We don't ever really take them off. Because when you do a flip kit, we always flip the leaf spring in the rear and it stays where it's at.
Yeah.
So. We still got a parking brake though.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, be back with y'all tomorrow.
And cut.
Cut. Me and Chandler were standing here celebrating victory because I just filmed that last flip. And it was like, then I remember there's 4 bolts on the bottom, so now I have to lay up under there and drill more holes.
For a total of 19 bolts on one notch.
Needs that many.
No, that's not necessary.
So if I just weld it down each side, that'd be like the same as putting the bottom bolts in, right?
Yeah.
Kind of what I was thinking.
You know, some people will do all that and then still weld the outsides of it.
I ain't welding. Hey, good man. Hey, I was so excited right there. I was like, yeah, I got.
Now, you was on TikTok this morning.
I'm mandated to do those things.
Hey. So I was all excited. I was like, yeah, I got the notch in. Got her out here in that dress drilling holes. Alright, you got 16 more. Alright, y'all. So last night me and KK got the other notch in. That one took several hours to get in. This one took about 45 minutes, just because I figured out what to do on that side and then executing it on this side, and it went a lot faster. So now we're going to move on to the next step, which is going to be mounting the 4-link bar brackets to the rear end. And when I get those dug out and mocked up, I will show you in just a second. All right, so we got the top plate that goes on top of the rear end like this, and then your bottom plate. These two match. So there's no left or right on these. They're identical. Obviously, your coilover mount goes to the back of the truck. 4-link mount goes to the front of the truck. This is just like a flip kit. It just fits up in the rear end. And this is what it'll look like when it's all bolted up. They send you new U-bolts. And you have to dig around in your bag. You'll find a bag that's got the nuts to fit it. There'll be 8 of those, 8 washers. So I'm going to get this other side hung. And then on to the next step. So it was very simple. That took about 2 minutes to get everything figured out and fished up, and go do this other side real quick. All right, so next up we got to bolt the lower shock bracket to the new bracket. I don't know why it didn't say to do that before you bolted on the truck, but the directions say to do it after for whatever reason. So the threaded part goes down. You got an 1 1/4 bolt that goes here, and an 1 3/4 bolt that goes through the thicker part. All right, once you get those, it says that it goes in the top hole and the second hole. So when it's installed correctly, this should be 1/8 of an inch past the bottom of this bracket. So we're gonna bolt those up, put washers on it, and we'll get that tight, and I'll be right back. Show you the next step. So next step is to stop what you're doing, go get in the vehicle and go to town and buy some red Loctite. If you're me, because I looked everywhere and I couldn't find any. So I went and bought some of this. We got the shock studs, which they just thread in the billet brackets that we put. We've got threads in them. You need a 5/8 washer, and there's a bag of bolts just for these studs. So it's going to have 2 of the 5/8 washers. It's going to have 2 small washers and 2 3/8 lock nuts to go on this end. So we're going to put some red Loctite on those, put those in, and torque those. I believe they go to 65 foot-pounds is what it said. And get those in. I'll show you the next step. All right, so next we're going to install the lower bars. They're fixed. There's no adjustment on them. They're welded solid. So the directions say to put these tall ones on the front. They're 1.2 inches, I believe. And these are 0.740. The small side goes into the joint. So this is going to be the rear one. They just slide in like so. And then you have a 5/8 by 3-inch bolt for the rear. And I believe that's a damn near 6. Maybe 5.5. I don't remember exactly what the length is on that one. So we're going to put the back one in first. And then we got to do some more to the front hanger to make sure it all bolts together. There's some more stuff that goes in there. So I'm going to go ahead and get this back stuck in. You got a flat washer for each side of the bolt on this one. And a little skinny nut. Nylon lock nut. So I'm going to stick that in real quick. The directions say to snug it up till there's no gap. And then do the front. So give me just a second and I'll get that done. Show you in just a second. So we got this rear bar in, or the rear of the lower bar. We're going to do the front. It comes with these little washers, and they go in here. Basically, what's going on there is this hole was bigger than that bolt, so they're reducing the size. You got one for the front and one for the back. The back one's going to be a little bit more challenging to get to, so I'm going to put this camera down. But once I get those in, I'm going to put these in, and then I've got my long bolt to go in and put the nut on the back side. So give me just a second, I'll show you what it looks like bolted up. Alright, so we got the lower bars in and tightened. See how they look there. The directions say that these joints will be really stiff until you drive it a little bit. So we got the front one and the rear one in. Now we're going to do these upper bars. These upper bars are adjustable, but from what I can tell, they come preset already. They're the exact same length and the jam nut's tight. So, according to the directions, the R joint goes to the very back. So it goes into the frame like this, and then that bolt's there. But we got to put some washers on it. So I'm going to get that bolted up. Same thing, you got 5/8 bolts. All 4 of these are the same length. You got the thin washers or thin nuts, I'm sorry, and flat washers. And we got to dig some more of these out. And every single joint takes the shorter washer. So I'm gonna get those bolted up and show you what that looks like installed in just a second. All right, I got the upper bars in. It was kind of fun. I had to get a ratchet strap out, hook to it to rotate it just enough, get the bolt all the way through. It was almost, and I didn't want to take the jam nut loose and start adjusting on those because I'm pretty sure they're already preset. And the pinion angle looks pretty spot on, so safe to say that assumption is probably correct. I got to go over here and get the other side. I got the top bolt in, but it's not through the second side. So I'm going to go fight with that a little bit, take my ratchet strap over there. I can tell you these joints right here are extremely stiff to get the turn. So this is probably the easiest way that I've found to do it with a ratchet strap. So. All right, so I got the upper bars in, all 4 of them. My pinion angle still looks jam up. I did have to loosen this end joint and spin it out that much to get it back up. It was, that upper bar over there was holding it in position. It was not letting it move at all. So I loosened this one, got it there. Once we get it on the ground, we'll check the pinion angle, make sure everything's good. But everything's tight, and we're gonna move on to the next step. I believe the next thing is the panhard bar. So the next step is attaching the panhard bar mount. It attaches to this shock mount. If your truck has this brake line bracket right above the driver's side shock mount, it has to come off. So I'm not going to show you me taking it off, but there's a 13mm bolt there. Take it loose, and then take a cut-off wheel and cut the bracket. Make sure you don't cut through the differential, and then grind it smooth. And then take this 13mm out of your parking brake, and you'll be ready to put the panhard bar bracket on. I'm going to do that, and I'll show you what it looks like when I get done. All right, so I got this bracket cut off. I got it all ground down. Next up, we have the panhard bar bracket. This wraps around the shock mount. This actually bolts up where your factory shock bolt was here, and then this is going to sandwich on the other side. We've got a bag of bolts just for this. We've got a long one that goes in the bottom here, and then we got 2 short ones that go up here. Also, we have this bolt, lock washer, and lock nut. So if you had to cut the brake line off like I did, once you get all this bolted up, it's going to bolt right there. And I already test fit it to make sure that was the right bolt. That's why it's dirty. But before you put that on, there is a stud for the panhard bar in this box somewhere. There it is. It says to put it on afterwards, but it's going to be a really pain to get to, so I'm going to go ahead and put it on first. So, sorry, I'm breaking directions order, but I'm going to go ahead and put this one on. I learned from those. So, I'm going to go ahead and bolt this on, and then I'll get that bolted up, and I'll show you what it looks like. So, I got this mount bolted up. The bottom bolt down there where the shock was is in, and then the 2 that sandwich it around the differential are in. Next, we're going to put the panhard bar on. It's got 2 of these spacers like the 4-link bars had, and it bolts in over here to the bottom of this notch, and there's 2 holes. The directions say they start on the bottom hole, and depending on ride height, you may have to move it to the top hole to get the bar level. This truck, we're not going to try to like hammer it. So we're going to put it in the bottom hole and get that bolted up. One more thing off the list. So got the coilovers on, Pop stopped by, see what we was doing. Takes a short washer at the top, and then the bottom has got, there's only 4 of them, so you can tell which one it is, but they go in there backwards compared to these. So we got those in, got a little preload on it. The set Allen head that goes in this, I haven't put it in yet because I want to sit on the ground, set a little ride height, and kind of just try it before I lock it down. So go back to these directions, figure out what's next. All right, so we got the coilovers on, and next on the list was the emergency brake cables. So this one just stays factory. It loops right around. It's got plenty of clearance, looks great, and it just bolts right back to the factory shock mount under there. The parking brake on the passenger side was a little bit more involved, so I ended up taking this bracket off to get this out of it. It was easier that way. I reinstalled it though when I got done. But the directions give you this big long spiel about taking that cable loose under the cab and pulling it all the way through and moving it over, because when you get this installed, it's going to be below this panhard bar. Me, I just took that bolt out, dropped the panhard bar down, moved it around up to the top of it, and put the bolt back in. And then there is a clamp that's on it from the factory right here that bolts right here. You take a screwdriver and a pair of pliers and you pry it apart. And then you move it over here. You take this very last bolt out of this notch and you drill the hole out. I just used a reamer. You drill it out and then put it on that bolt, and it makes that parking brake cable come right on around that coilover, just as pretty as you ever seen. And it ain't going nowhere. So, we in the short rows now, boys and girls. Sure there's a girl or two out there that has watched this. Let me go back and read through the directions one more time, make sure we got everything. All the parts left over, that's a carrier bearing spacer, and then that's some frame spacers that go on the 99 and 2000 models, because the frames are a little different. And I think we're out of parts. So, and we only got a few bolts left over. No big deal, you know. Actually, I really don't know what any of those are for, because everything has bolts in it. So, alright, so we got the tires going back on. The only other step that was left was putting the bump stops in and setting preload on these. I turned them up till it was 3 inches from the black stripe to the bottom of the collar, both sides. And we're going to start there and see, because before I turned it up, it was almost bottomed out in the notch without the bed on. So I want to try this beautiful spare, put the weight of the bed on it and see where it's at. My buddy Adam, he stopped by to see me. Maybe one day we'll get a video of his super slick bag 66 C10 right there. One day, maybe. So I'd like to bring y'all some videos like that where we feature people's vehicles. So. All right, we're back to the truck back on the ground. And next we have to deal with this bed cross member. This thing already had that notch and they had cut this out, but as you can tell right here, the differential had already been rubbing this. So what I always do on these is I come in, I cut this shield, and then I cut this entire brace out. That gives you 2 more inches of clearance to your differential. So I'm gonna fire this plasma up, get it whacked out, get the bed put back on. All right, y'all, here we go. This is the first rendition of the stance. The back needs to come down a little bit more, but we're about to test drive for the first time, see how it rides. It's kind of hard to tell with this spare on here what it's going to actually look like on this side, but you see it. I'll let y'all know in a minute how it rides. All right, so the driver's side front is a lot lower than the passenger side, and the passenger side's sitting pretty good. So I'm going to try to tighten this collar up on this driver's side a little bit. As you can see up in there, just a little bit I drove it. The tire's already rubbing the plastic fender pretty bad. The other side's good. So I've got this spanner wrench that came with it, and then I've got another one over there. I've got a different one that's only got one hook on the end that works really good. I'm gonna try this one. If it don't work, I'm gonna try that one, and then hopefully we can get it sitting right. And we're also gonna let the rear down some. So let me see that. Y'all check out KK's new hair. My redhead became a redhead. Come back. She's gonna make me chase her.
Come on now.
I like it. It looks really good. We got this thing ironed out. Front still just a touch hair lower than the back as far as the tire to fender clearance. I let the back down a bunch. I don't want to let it down anymore because there ain't gonna be no preload on the springs. But we got it sitting what seems to be pretty good. It rides good, drives good. I just drove it around the block. It was a little stiff the other day, but when I went back and checked everything earlier, the front driver's side coil was still full tight, which will make them really stiff. And loosen that back up to 12 to the halfway point. All the rest of them was at 12, and she rides good. Still handles good. Goes around the corner good. Come here. Come here. Anyway, so if you have any questions, any comments, you know, want to know anything about this Ridetech suspension that I didn't cover, comment down below. Let me know. And she said buy some t-shirts, y'all. Lowerclassfab.com. Get some merch. We need to get some of this stuff moved because we got a bunch of shirts in there, a bunch of hats, stickers, all that good stuff, a bunch of stuff. So yeah, lowerclassfab.com. All right, appreciate y'all checking this out. Bye.
Hey. Yeah. Was sleeping in these studios and waking up at 7, took the train to college. One semester was enough, I told my mom I got a different plan. I know that she was worried, but I kept my promise. Got the coins coming in once I checked the Sonics. Bank accounts emptied out, I had to thug it out. Always had a way to make it work and find another route. If they don't credit me, I'm checking out. These raps are just the thoughts I always stress about. My only way to let them out. They compare me to Jack, compare me to Mac. I feel it, but just spare me, it's whack. I bear my soul on these tracks. I never did it for a bag or a plaque. Just want the mirror man to smile when he stare at me back.